Is it worth the overreaction? Where are you at processing a loss like that?
Kind of like the Lions rushers, their linebackers. There really is no angle to take on this day. It was a stinker. They played bad. There's really there's no way to sugarcoat it. Whether it's coaching, whether it's the offense, defense, special teams, they didn't play well. They didn't have their best effort. And the Baltimore Ravens showed that they're going to be one of the top teams in the AFC. They looked really good. You pair that with as bad as the Lions played, it was ugly. We all know it was ugly from the start. They got beat.
Yeah, real quick, fun fact. I know why the Ravens took the ball. Because they're the only team in the NFL to score first in every single game.
Have they really?
Yeah. The 49ers were the other team, and they just ended that last night.
Wow.
So it makes sense. If you're a team that scores first every single time, give me the football.
Take the momentum right
That's
away.
a good point.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
They had it right from the start.
Makes sense there. Sam, what do you got?
Absolutely. And you know what? I wasn't Mr. Optimism yesterday, but Broder, I couldn't help but watching the end result of that 49ers and Vikings game yesterday and thinking to myself, the 49ers probably feel pretty devastated after that loss too. And they took a loss. They're 5-2. The invincible 49ers are 5-2, and the Lions are 5-2 as well. So even though the Lions, I would say, got punked by the Ravens, they still have a lot. Everything is right in front of them. So does that kind of help stomach that loss a little bit easier? The fact that they're still basically, they could still get the 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah, I think so. And this is why there's so much value in those W's against the Packers, against the Falcons, the Panthers. It's because you knew a stinker, a clunker was coming. We didn't want it to happen against the Ravens, but that's the best team, I think, probably on the schedule. At least they're playing like it right now. So it does. If you're looking for something to be optimistic about, they paved the way for this to not be as tough of a defeat. 49ers look not like all worldly. Like they can be beaten, as they've been proven the last 2 weeks. So it's something you got to take what you can from it and move on. But yeah, they didn't look good.
I'll ask you this. What was more disappointing? Because the offense, I mean, you could point, people try to bring up Jared Goff. There's much more. It was much more complex than just Jared. And then you bring up the defense and what happened there, because I believe the Ravens scored on like their first 3 possessions, or whatever the hell the stat is. I mean, they got off to a great start. What was more concerning? How they played offensively or defensively to you? Or are they both of them, you're like, well, they can recover from both sides?
Yeah, well, they can recover from both sides. I'll probably be more concerned about the defense.
Yeah.
I mean, they both played bad. If there's a tiebreaker, I'm going to say that the offense, where they were playing from behind literally all game long, and to just have to come back from that first drive, which was so smooth out of the Ravens, to go 3 and out. It might have been a turnover on downs, or they had to punt on the first drive. They were playing from behind. It felt like they were always playing catch-up. But that defense, it almost seemed like they really did have no answer for Lamar Jackson. It seemed like they weren't prepared for all the different things that Lamar Jackson could do with that offense. His passing was showcased on Sunday. I think he had over 300 yards in the first half. I just think whatever strategy Aaron Glenn had, it didn't work. It seemed like whether it was Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, or ever, they had a guy on many plays playing a spy-like position on Lamar Jackson. That wouldn't be the strategy that I would take. I think you got to get as much pressure as possible on him and force him to throw from the pocket. Those guys who were spying just didn't have any chance. Once he was able to sneak out of the pocket, there was nothing to do, and he was able to do what he pleases, whether that's running or fake the run and give it to Gus Edwards for an 80-yard touchdown pass. I just think the chess match between Aaron Glenn and Tom Monken was definitely won by Monken.
And just to stay on Goff for a second, because that's probably the more frustrating thing. You watch that game; it was definitely the worst game this offensive line has played since I can remember. It was awful. And then, of course, you couldn't run the ball early on. I mean, Jameer got a lot of yards late, but how much of that do you put on Jared? Like, can you kind of give your take on that? Because that's all I've been seeing that a lot too. Because of Jared, we lost. It's
on the
that
offense,
simple.
Just on the offense.
Yeah, like it's that simple. It's all because of Jared Goff.
Yeah, it's not. He just didn't have enough on this day to overcome the deficiencies that the offense had. They couldn't really get a run game going. He was under pressure all day long. So that front 7 for the Baltimore Ravens, even those linebackers, they were able to get to Jared Goff and force him to either make quick decisions where he just had to get the ball out quick or throw it away before getting sacked, or force him into uncomfortable spots where he's trying to scramble a little bit and doesn't really know where to throw. So it was ugly, but it's not just all on Jared Goff. I think the loss of Jonah Jackson not playing in that game was way bigger than people think. in terms of establishing that run game, especially without David Montgomery, Jonah Jackson's a beast there at the left guard position. They just never seem to be able to get that push on the offensive line to at least neutralize the pressure that the Ravens defense was giving. So I would have loved to see Jonah Jackson out there. They're going to need him against the best teams in the NFL if that's who they want to compete with. But no, it wasn't all Jared Goff.
I knew the game was off, Sam, as soon as Amon-Ra dropped a pass. As soon as that happened.
That was weird.
Yeah, something's fishy.
And that's all well and good. And actually, after hearing you guys speak, I changed my question. I just want you to respond to this, Matt Berger, because it's not so much as a question as it is a statement. So I think some people, maybe even you to some extent, actually more than to some extent, you definitely, guys like Neil Rule, are letting Jared Goff off a little bit too easy. If this were Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs and they went to Baltimore and put up 6 points, people would be clowning Patrick Mahomes. If this was Justin Herbert, it would be like, what a loser, that loser Justin Herbert. If it were Lamar Jackson, it would be like, oh my God, this guy can't throw. If it were Josh Allen, it would be like, this guy doesn't win any big games, which is false, by the way. But since it's Jared Goff, it's just like, oh, the line, oh, the drops. It's just, I get it. We like Jared Goff and we love what he's done for Detroit, but why is it that he's just skating scot-free to some people, including yourself, Matt Broder?
Yeah, well, he's not. I just answered Jeff's question directly. Said, what was it all Jared's Goff fault, or were there other pieces?
But you guys would never give a lot of the same people would never give some other quarterbacks the benefit of the doubt. But because it's Jared Goff, and I get it. I'm not saying it was all Jared Goff's fault. But you get what I'm saying, though.
No, my defense of Goff is I'm going to use the reason that people think Jared Goff can only be successful if he has pieces around him. So when something happens where the entire team breaks down against the Ravens, why are we putting all the blame on Goff? It's the Patrick Mahomes, the Justin Herberts of the world that are getting $50, $60 million, and they're being told they're the ones who can win their team a game when it comes down to it. All we hear about Jared Goff is he needs all the pieces around him. He can't lead a team to victory like he did against Tampa Bay. So to just fall on Goff, and he didn't play very well. It wasn't a good game out of Goff. I'm not defending how well he played in this game, but that loss wasn't all on him. It looked like he did everything he could. He just didn't have a good game. He wasn't throwing the ball well, but how many drops did they have? How much pressure was under him? It was a full team effort to lose that game.
Yeah, and Sam, to kind of answer your question too, because I get what you're saying.
Okay.
My take on it, and Goff definitely deserves blame. I guess I already knew what Goff was. Goff is one of the best, if not the best, in play action. What does that mean? You got to get a run game going. You got to establish the run. They weren't able to do that early. So, of course, you get an offensive line that's not protecting him. You don't have a run game, can't establish play action. He's getting pressured every time. There's limitations with Goff, and I acknowledge that. With guys like Patrick Mahomes, and those guys are looked at as the cream of the crop, the best quarterbacks in the league. I've never once compared Goff to Mahomes.
Sure. No.
So, that's where I'm at. If it was Mahomes, of course, you're Mahomes, so go win a game. Goff, he's playing at a top 5, top 6 level. That doesn't take anything away from him, but I've never looked at Goff in that type of tier of quarterback.
No,
that's why I'm not saying it's all on Goff. It's a team loss.
And that is 100% fair. Don't get me wrong on that. And the defense was not good, and the wide receivers didn't do him a lot of favors. The offensive line didn't do Jared Goff a lot of favors. But if any top quarterback, if any mid quarterback even led their team to 6 points in a loss, they would get more of the blame than I think Goff is getting. I mean, imagine if Kirk Cousins did that. If Kirk Cousins would have done that, we would be clowning him 6 ways to the sun. But since it's Jared Goff, I feel like he's getting a lot of excuses. So, and this doesn't apply to Kirk Cousins. It almost seems like Jared Goff, we don't hold him to the same standard as the actual elite quarterbacks in the NFL.
I mean, you can't, though. If you're going to hold him to the expectation of Patrick Mahomes, you're just fooling yourself. But I think along with this is it's different because the whole team played like shit. You know what I mean? It's not like it was just on Jared Goff. If Jared Goff had a game like that and the defense held him to 21 points, there would be a lot more blame going on Jared Goff. But the fact of the matter is just no one showed up from coaching to personnel, so that's why it's just to your point, Flannel, you can absolutely blame Goff. He did not play well. I agree with you. Even when he was under pressure and he's fumbling the ball when he's wrapped up, I don't like seeing that stuff. That's just rookie QB type of thing. I know he didn't actually fumble it ever, but he got it right back, but still just stuff like that. But You can't just put the significant amount of the blame on Goff when it's just no one showed up. That's why I think people like me and Jeff and Broder are kind of blame, but you can't just say Goff.
Especially it's hard because last week you watched him without a run game win that game in the second half for the Lions. He was a big reason offensively they were able to have any production. So you kind of weigh some of it out. But Goff definitely deserves blame. He's not absolved from it, but I wouldn't look like Lucas said. There's so many things that went wrong in that game. Like it'd be hard for me to come on Monday or today and be like, yeah, Goff's got to look in the mirror. Like, there's a lot more there. But I want to ask you one thing, and then I'll let Sam chime in here. Just some updates on the injuries. How's Jerry Jacobs? Have you heard anything about him? Some other guys, like the Charles Harris thing. Like, could you go into some of that stuff?
Yeah, they didn't give many details yesterday when they got back. Dan Campbell shared a little bit in his press conference yesterday, but we'll learn more tomorrow.
Okay.
After they get back on the practice field, because the schedule this week's a little bit different with the Monday night game. Everything's pushed back a little bit. But they don't expect Jerry Jacobs' injury to be serious. It was a knee injury that showed up Friday in practice. He fell on it funny, and it was sort of a surprise how swollen it got, how much it was going to affect him on Sunday. So does that mean he's going to play Monday? I don't know yet. I can't give you that confidence, but it doesn't appear to be an injury reserve type of thing. Charles Harris, he was a healthy scratch. This is one of those guys, and this may fall into the trade deadline conversation of where they need to go. Need a little help next to Aiden Hutchinson, but Charles Harris, he's just been one that hasn't been winning his one-on-one matches. He's a great dude. He's a hard worker. He's loved on that defense, but his play out there, he's not getting it done. So I believe that's why he was a healthy scratch, and they might be looking for some reinforcements on that defensive line.
We can dream. But, Broder, one thing that we talk about frustrating, as far as like some people are frustrated with Jared Goff, something that's very frustrating for me to see is a 7th-round pick Antoine Green out there instead of Jameson Williams. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but at some point, like we were just talking about kind of blaming Jared Goff. I think some blame has to go on Ben Johnson at some point for that game.
Yeah.
So what is going on with a 7th-round pick in Antoine Green, a rookie, getting, honestly, just as much playing time as a 12th overall pick in his second year in Jameson Williams? Like, what's going on there?
This is a tricky one. I think it comes down to trust, both Ben Johnson and maybe Jared Goff too, not knowing what they're going to get out of Jameson Williams. And I'm still saving hope for Jameson Williams and having a really great future. But there's something going on that none of us are seeing it's why it hasn't looked that great yet. There's something. I don't know why they aren't trying to get him the ball in more short and intermediate routes. So just get it in his hands without much defensive pressure on him. Get in his hands and let him do stuff with his legs. Yeah. It seems like every time they're looking to get him the ball, it's on either a bomb or a deep route, a deep post, that wasn't the route tree he had at Alabama. I just expected more creativity getting him involved in the offense. I expected more out of Ben Johnson. So you're right, Lucas. I don't know what's going on. And Antoine Green didn't look that great out there, but you're right. Why was he getting those snaps when Jameson's on the roster?
Even use J-Mo in the run game. Use himself. Just use
something.
him.
I think whether it's just Monday or these next couple games, I think they really need to see what they've got in J-Mo. I think we're going to I believe, this is just my pure speculation, I think we're going to see a higher number of targets to J-Mo these next couple of weeks, if anything, to just see what they have in him moving forward. Is he that guy, or do they make a move?
So, Broder, have you ever heard of the old Cowboys receiver Alvin Harper? Speaking of Jameson Williams, I mean that's
Alvin Harper.
No, I mean I'm just saying because here's the thing, and I want to piggyback off of Jameson Williams a little bit because it always seems like, and I'm not trying to be a dick, because he was great at Tampa Bay. He made the biggest play of the game. That is 100% fair. But in the other 2 games, he's been back 2 catches for 2 yards, numerous drops. So I keep hearing about, they're going to get him more involved, but it just kind of seems like he's a guy that they throw a few go routes to every now and again, and he might hit a few of those, but I don't know if I ever see him being. That's why I said Alvin Harper. He had a season where that is his ceiling. He had 33 catches for 820 yards in a year, which is an absurd yards per catch. But anywho, so what do you see maybe behind the scenes? Do you actually think Jameson Williams can ever hit that ceiling, which is above an Alvin Harper?
I certainly don't hope he's the next.
Why Alvin Harper,
what?
man? That yesterday came on in left field. Yeah, your response to that, bro.
No, I certainly hope he's not the next member of Alvin and the Chipmunks. But Jameson Williams, I think it's a hands thing, and this is the most surprising thing to me because I never thought he had bad hands, and even watching him throughout training camp when he was dropping the ball, it didn't seem like he had stiff hands. He had soft hands. When he caught it, it was with his hands. It was away from his body. It looks weird out there. I don't know if it's the ball from Jared Goff or what's going on, but there's something off from him catching the ball. I hope he can get that out of his system. But there is something going on behind the scenes, something that I haven't even been able to see of why they're not using him in more creative ways. You're right. I don't get it.
And I want to ask you about Brad, because this is something I've been thinking about. We had a segment yesterday where we talked about acquisitions, and I think it's the time. This is the year where Brad needs to be aggressive and acquire somebody. You need help right now. You need proven talent.
Yeah.
We know Brad can draft, but this is the first time through Brad's regime that this is a legit football team. This is a good football team. And you watch across the NFC, you're watching these different NFC teams add players. I mean, the 49ers just recently last year added Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. And then you have this year, the Eagles now adding Kevin Byard, a former two-time All-Pro. Like, these teams don't just sit and wait for things to organically progress. No, you go get guys.
Niners went and got Randy Gregory a couple weeks ago.
There you go. So
Eagles got Swift, too.
Yeah, Eagles got Swift. So Brad Holmes, I love him, but he has to make a move. If there is not a move made by this trade deadline, to me, that's a big, big disappointment.
Yeah.
It should be to all Lions fans.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially when you just see the 49ers lose a football game.
Yeah, you see them lose a football game, and you see how bad you got beat by a good football team.
Yeah.
You realize, although I don't believe that the Lions are 32 points worse than the Baltimore Ravens, there are deficiencies all over the field that you need to address. And you pair that with injuries, and you asked about injuries too. Kirby Joseph, he's fine. He was rumored to have a concussion that hit Odell Beckham had, sort of jamming his helmet right into Kirby. He's going to be fine. Mo Ibrahim will probably be out for the year with a dislocated hip. But you're right. I think Brad Holmes needs to make a move regardless of if he wants to go all in or not. Mm-hmm. They need to add pieces to that secondary. I think to make a run, or for the long term, they need to give Aiden Hutchinson some help on that defensive line. Lee McNeil's been playing great run defense, but they're not getting any pressure up the middle. Bugs is playing good too, but other than Aiden Hutchinson, it doesn't seem like anyone else can get to the quarterback consistently. So they got to fill out that defensive line. And now with Jerry Jacobs questionable, you can't just rely on Cam Sutton to be your only quarterback on the roster once you start playing these good teams. So you're right. They got to make a move. Are they going to go all in and go get a lead running back, a lead cornerback, a lead anything, or are they going to fill it in with a bunch of pieces?
Right.
Do they do it via trade, or do they go get Leonard Fournette and Ndamukong Suh? Like, there are a couple different strategies, but I'm with you, Jeff. I think he's got to do something.
Yeah, you just have to. Like, the Lions, like, organically, they've been building, and it's been great, but at some point, you just got to put your nuts on the table and be like, you know what? We're one of the better teams in the NFC and in the NFL. Let's go get a dog.
Yeah.
Let's go get somebody that can come right now, not a rookie next year, which, by the way, Brad's found a ton of talented guys in the draft, but no. Like, you can sacrifice a third-round pick. The Eagles just gave, what, a fourth and a fifth? Or was it a fifth and a sixth? And Terrell Edmonds for Kevin Byard.
Yeah, not bad.
You can afford that.
Especially you got third rounder from the T.J. Hawkinson trade. So you have that to offer up. Just
absolutely
let it fly, baby.
I would be calling the Commanders and do not let them hang up until we get a deal done. That's how that works.
And just for the record, Trisha Miller, I know we have had some bad blood in the chats from time to time, but she chimes in. Alvin Harper has 2 Super Bowl rings. Don't come for my Vols flannel. I'm actually not coming for Alvin Harper. He was a very valuable contributor to those Cowboys teams. 33 catches for 821 is a hell of a season for what he was asked to do. But the way they have been targeting Jamison Williams, though, with a lot of go routes, it kind of seems like that's how they want to use him. And Jamison Williams could hit some home runs. He hit one at Tampa Bay, 100%, the biggest play of the game. He was a underthrown